Alright, welcome to another video on how to create an e-commerce with all of this web technology, right? Vue for building UI, Nuxt for streamline and improve the developer experience while providing a performant user experience, Strappy to easily manage our content and distribute that, GraphQL for optimization, performance optimizations, uh, basically to reduce load time and to keep the load time as minimum as possible. Docker to containerize our application so we can deploy anywhere in any cloud provider or in any machine. Stripe to integrate payment solutions and deploy on Amazon EC2, which is a physical server, specifically a virtual machine that has a built-in hypervisor, highly optimized to work on that machine, or the bare metal. So okay, the goal is to see how feasible, fast is to build an e-commerce with all of this technology mentioned before. The way of doing that, the methodology is, well, first the design, then the build, the test, and the deploy. So first, on the design of conducting a research to identify what are the UI component library that we want to use or we should use. In our case, will be ViewStick, all right, which is for Vue 3. Also, Strappy comes with a Nuxt 3 model, which is great. And even though that Stripe doesn't have any Nuxt 3 model, we can rely on the car integration. So the time estimate for this is less than 24 hours. It might be a little bit more because right now I'm learning and be able to improve my communication skills and also my soft skill, specifically on mention and describe all of the methodology, the technology, the know-how, and my thinking process. So for the backend on the build step, right, I already built the backend with Strappy. I define a common types for the e-commerce, such as product, order list, reviews, and understand what Strappy is after all. It began as a way to make easy the API development, so you can bootstrap your API fast as possible, and now it grows into this open source headless CMS, where now allows developer to easily choose whatever favorite tool or framework and integrate with that, and allow editors to manage and distribute the content through the admin panel. It also, since Stripe is built in a plugin, is built following is the plugin system, we can easily extend functionality in our API as the admin panel. And also it comes with a built-in user system, so we can manage in detail what the admins and user have access to. So with Strappy, now that I already set up that, and because I want to integrate GraphQL for performance optimizations, meaning to keep the user waiting load time as minimum as possible. So Strappy comes with a GraphQL plugin that under the hood it creates an Apollo server, which is great. An Apollo comes with several features the client and the server, among other advanced features. But the point of Graph or the Apollo is that it allows to implement GraphQL server or client and integrate the data layer with mother app, and integrate the data layer between mother apps and the cloud, right? So after all, this plugin comes with a Apollo server and something called a shadow crew that it automates the creation of queries, mutations, resolvers, based on the models you define on the admin panel, in the admin panel. Whereas with Nuxt, which is now in the front end, it aims to improve the developer experience when building modern web applications by delivering an optimized user experience following several optimization techniques like tree shaking, code splitting, lean perfection, optimized cold start. Also using some of the rendering strategy like SSR, SSG, CSR, ESR, the incremental static generation, and SWR, which is stale while revalidated, and SEO and Web Vitals. So this Web Vitals is something that Google said that, okay, improve your Web Vitals here. Improve your Web Vitals from Google developers. So the finding here is the Web Vitals, okay, and the core Web Vitals is these three contents, right? What you have is the largest contentful pane, the first input delay or the interactivity, and the visual stability, cumulative layout shift, okay. And it also provides some tools to actually do that for you, right? It also comes with Web Vital extensions. This only works on Google Chrome. On Chrome Web Store. Okay. So looking at the Web Vitals, which is something I'm going to link here. Okay, the Web Vitals, and that is, well, leveraging the server-side rendering using ESM format and optimized image. So Nuxt website are indexable by search engine while giving the feeling of an app to the end user. And we're gonna see why it doesn't mean. So that's one of the goals, delivering an optimized user experience while improving the developer experience with following a very intuitive folder structure where you can define your project, automate some of the repetitive tasks like out imports, code splitting, minifications, bundling for productions. Embedded includes like data fetching, state management like Vue.x or Pinia, meta tag helpers to improve this SEO, route guard for security, cookies, error handling, and then bundle analyzer to see what are these, which bundles or package are being used unnecessary on production, okay. And well, you have a community of web builders as well. So with that, okay, I dedicated quite a lot of time to understand is the fundamental here, and this is very, very, very important, especially if you want to dedicate to whatever field you want to do, right? Uh, in our case, is to build this mother web application with Nuxt. So Nuxt allows type safe, performance, production grade, full stack web apps and websites, while enjoying is the hot model, the HMR, the hot model replacement in development, and a performant production server side rendering by default. So Nuxt has no vendor login, as I mentioned here. So Nuxt has no vendor login, allowing you to deploy your application anywhere, even on the edge. So understand about the edge. What does it mean, the edge, right? So a Nuxt application can be deployed on a Node.js server pre-rendered for static hosting using a Nuxt generate, or deployed to a serverless or edge CDN environment. Interesting. If you're looking for a list of cloud providers for Nuxt 3, see list below. So Node.js server, discover the Node.js server preset with Nitro to deploy on any node hosting. Default output format. If none is specified or auto-detected, loads only the required chunks to render the request for optimal cold start timing, and useful for deploying Nuxt app to any Node.js hosting. Exactly. Exactly. There is something interesting here because, for example, if you want to integrate Nuxt with Laravel, that's a different approach. That's a completely different approach. So this is the entry point for that. That's right. This is the example. Now our server is running on this, and configure default at runtimes like Nitro port, Nitro hosts, and Nitro SSL certificate. If this is if you want to launch the server in an HTTPS mode, which is required. In the vast majority of the case, this should be not this should not be used other than for testing, and the Nitro server should be run behind a reverse proxy like NGX or Cloudflare, which terminates SSL. Using PM2 process management to actually see or manage your server, and using cluster mode, right, which is a technique for scaling your applications to harness the power of your the multiple CPU threads and logical cores. So what it does is cluster mode is to create an instance, a Node.js instance per process. Unlike workers, where you can create several instances per process, per thread. So clusters allow you to create one instance per thread, whereas workers multiple instance Node.js instance per thread, bringing JavaScript to be a multi-threading programming language. This is in static hosting, manual pre-rendering, client-side only rendering, and the preset. And supported hosting providers, all of it, AWS, Azure, Clever, and they give you is introductions to this. Deploy AWS Lambda, but this is if you want to deploy as a serverless. Interesting. If you want to deploy that as a serverless. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. Mm, 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 mm. AWS land. Okay, again, this is to make it easy to deploy that. Okay, we can use it an EC2 instance or a Lambda function. Mm-hmm. And use programmatically. Status code, headers, and body. Mm, interesting. Interesting. So okay, cool. Now going back to this, okay, to this introduction, and well, understand is the main topic in this introduction. So I know what Nuxt after all, what Nuxt does after all, okay, uh, and what are the main topic on that. So you have is the automations and conventions here. Yep, you have automations and conventions. So it provides a file-based routing, so you don't need to, by default, defining views under the page folders. It creates a route uh, for that automatically. Code splitting, server-side rendering out of the box, auto import. So it comes with the benefit of tree shaking and optimized JavaScript bundles, data fetching utilities, okay, zero config TypeScript support, and configure build tools. So, in other words, all right, these automations and conventions that Nuxt provide are for file-based routing. Okay, so files-based routing, code splitting, server-side rendering, auto import, data fetching utilities that are compatible to handle SSR scenarios. Okay, data fetching utility, zero config TypeScript, and configure build tools. So for that, we use Vite by default to support hot model replacement in development and bundling your code for production with best practice baked in. Okay, this is one main topic, automations and conventions. Server-side rendering, well, because the entire HTML is rendered on the server and sent to the browser, so the content is already in there, providing a faster perceived load time and improve the SEO, because now web crawlers can index your websites since they can see the content in there, and better performance for low power end device since it reduces the JavaScript download and execution of code on the client side, better accessibility. So since the content is immediately available on the initial page, it improves uh, accessibility for users who rely on screen readers or other assistive assistive technology. Easier catching, like this. Okay, so easier catching because now page can be cached on the server side, which can further improve the performance by reducing the amount of time it takes to generate and send the content to the client. So yeah, page can be cached in the server, which further improving the performance by reducing the amount of time it takes to generate on the fly, to generate the content and send on the fly to the client. So okay, this is the server side rendering benefits. Okay, so faster initial page load, improve SEO, better performance, better performance on low power device, better accessibility since the content is already in there. So users who rely on screen reader or any assisted technology improve that aspect. Easier catching because now page can be rendered and catch on the server instead of generate that and generate that on the fly. Okay, and then we have the server engine. So the server engine like Nitro, okay, the server engine like Nitro, it unlocks new full stack capabilities. So when you saw the term engine, especially in the software context, is the heart of the applications that provide a set of capability specific to that task. In this case, the server to handle incoming requests and response, among other features, right? But this server engine is the heart of this, and it improves and it unlocks new full stack features since in development it used rollup and Node.js worker since this improve cold start server for bundling your code. And in productions, Nitro builds your app server into one universal .output directory, and this output is slide, minify, and remove from any Node.js model, except the polyfill. So you can deploy this output on any system supporting JavaScript from Node.js, serverless, workers, edge-side rendering, or purely static. And this is something powerful because in our case, when I did this, when I run the Nuxt build command, so the Nitro builds builds the app and the server into one universal .output directory. Okay, so it builds the app and the server on one universal .output directory, and this output is live, minify, and remove any Node.js model except polyfills, and you can deploy this output in any system supporting JavaScript, whether it's Node, serverless, workers, edge-side rendering, or purely static. That's actually something awesome. That's pretty cool. And then production ready. Okay. So a Nuxt application can be deployed on a Node or Dino server, pre-rendered to be hosted in static environment, or deployed to a serverless and edge provider. So production ready. This is another main topic that provide Nuxt, right? Automation and conventions, server-side rendering out of the box, server engine, production ready, because this Nuxt application can be deployed on Node or Dino, pre-rendering to be hosted in static environments or deployed to serverless and edge providers. Is modular because now you can extend Nuxt custom features and integration with third-party servers. Okay, and then the architecture here. And it's important to understand the architecture because remember, the core engine here, after all, is to improve the to improve the developer experience overall and provide a performance user experience. So improve the developer experience and provide or deliver a develop and deliver an optimized or deliver and performant user experience. After all, that's what it does, Nuxt. Okay, and understand that is okay. It's like, I get it. I get it completely. Okay, so this is the core of Nuxt. When you look at the core engine, what does it mean is that this is a set of library that delivering an optimized user experience while improving the developer experience. Okay, the way of do that is, well, for the user perspective, it use some optimization techniques like tree shaking, code splitting, link perfections, several rendering strategies like the server-side renderings, static-side generators, client-side rendering, incremental static regeneration here, incremental static regenerations, stale while revalidating, and SEO and Web Vitals. Okay, and SEO and Web Vitals. And for the developer experience, like, well, by providing is a conventions and automations, for example, like the files-based routing, and it comes with automations like the code splitting, auto imports, typings, minifications, bundling for productions, and some battery includes like data prefetching. Data fetching for server-side or to handle server-side environment, data fetching, state management, meta tags helpers, route guards, cookies, error handling, and bundling analyzer, and more. So, okay, this is the core of that. Bundlers, whether it's with Webpack or Vite, which Vite is reading in Go, the command line interface, like Nuxt, okay, the server engine that it unlock new developer or it unlock new full stack features like Nitro, the development kit, and the bridge for Nuxt 2 to Nuxt 3 applications. So yeah, let's get started. And so that'll be all for this introduction. Okay, so that'll be all for this introduction. Take care. Bye bye.